what are we doing here, man?
It's been a hell of a day.
Yeah,
it's been a hell of a day. So with all of the interviews, this is interview number 8 for the day.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, before today, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to do 8 interviews. I've got supremely high level talent coming in. We did all of our research ahead of time. Like, we prepped for this thing. And I'm like, by the end of the day, I'm going to be exhausted.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Like, it's been fun today. It's been really engaging, fun, exciting. I learned a hell of a lot. And I've like spoken on stage before for a full day, and I like dread it because I walk out of there and I'm just like a zombie. This is great, man. This is a lot of fun.
Dude, I love that answer. I love that, so I was asking you a completely different question, but your genuine excitement coming through is amazing, right?
I'm like a curveball.
Yeah.
You never know what I'm going to answer.
I love it, man. I love that answer. I love that answer, right? So, the short story of what we're doing is we are rolling out this new community creation for business development concept for JWB, right? And we are interviewing JWB leadership, JWB team members, clientele, people in the Jacksonville network, the leaders that are pushing this city forward in order to aggregate value around this company and really create a win-win scenario for everybody involved, right? Like the clientele, the city, the team members, the leadership, and everything like that, right? And I want to go back to, spoiler alert, it's done through interviews. We've just done 8 interviews that we're going to roll out now over the next 8 weeks, and people are going to get to watch it live with us, ask questions, right? Get access to you, ask questions online. It's going to live in a Facebook group. We're all going to interact with everybody. But I want to go back to kind of why we started doing this, right? And, I want to go back to that happy hour that we went to. What was the name of the restaurant?
Coop 303.
At Coop. I hadn't been. That's really the only time. I can't go there without you now.
Yeah, right.
But actually, it goes back to playing volleyball together at the. You tell the story, man.
Yeah, got to know you because you were a terrible volleyball player. No, I'm joking.
Hard to miss.
No, it was great. I mean, we had the culture event where we brought the entire team out. We had a volleyball tournament.
Yep.
And I remember you were there and you were friends with Whitney.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, who's this new guy I hadn't met before? And so we started talking. And, immediately I remember for our first interaction, you were super fired up about marketing.
Yeah.
And you were fired up about JWB too, and you were fired up about volleyball, and all those things ring true to me too.
Yeah.
So we instantly hit it off, and I just remember using you as a resource for a long time. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And we had tried to get together, but man, you probably remember like things were all over the place as far as like marketing for JWB at that time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were getting heavy into our social presence and doing a lot of videos and a lot of good stuff there. But I was running crazy. And I kind of remember you looking at me just like smiling, like, I could probably really help my friend out here if he would just listen. It's kind of like that look right there. And so we sat down and had a drink at Coop and just I kind of shared some of the pain points that we were having. And with everything, I think at the core of like what I was thinking is, people don't invest because I teach them the numbers. Right, the numbers speak for themselves. That's a part of the decision. But people invest with JWB because they meet the team, right? Or they are impressed with Jacksonville as a city, right? And they want to know that this is going to be an investment that's very strong, not just today, but for the future. And, I've shared that message about how awesome our team is and our message about where Jacksonville is going, but people don't want to hear that from me anymore, right?
Yep.
And I thought, and we together thought, how cool would it be to create a forum where we're bringing that high-level talent in here, and we're just, talking with them and getting inside their head a little bit, because we have such talent in our community, such talent on the team here, and we thought this would be a much better way to kind of communicate the value of the JWB network, and it has been a lot more exciting for me because I'm not running ragged, and I've really enjoyed the interview process, which has been awesome. So.
Yeah, listen, I've enjoyed it very much too. And for me, as somebody that I met you guys, I met Alex. I think Alex is probably the guy that most people meet when they first meet or think about.
He's on the front lines. Yeah, I'm in the wing somewhere, and I get to meet you afterwards.
Yeah. And I met Alex, man, like 8 years ago at a tailgate party at the Ritchie's house, right? And then I knew that y'all were up to this wealth building company. About I guess it was 7 years ago because it was a 2-year note. But I invested in the
Private lending.
in the private lending program. Had a great experience. At the time, I still lived in Miami. I needed a way to invest $25,000 that I had laying around. And Miami had no options, right? So it was a perfect vehicle for me. I didn't know that I'd end up here, right? So then I'm here. I'm starting anew at the beginning of 2019 with this vision of, okay, man, I have proven that community creation is the future of business development across a couple of different industries, and I'm looking for a couple select clients. And in the back of my mind, I was always just like, I think JWB is the ideal vehicle for this, right? Because as I get closer and closer from like the outside concentric circles to the middle of it, and as this journey continues, I keep seeing this aggregate value that y'all provide to investors like me back then, right? Now to turnkey investors and to the people that live in the homes that do it, to the construction arm and all the outside ancillary services like Whitney and all these people that you've been bringing in and creating all this. There's no other way to put it but wealth creation. And then when we meet at this volleyball tournament, that I'm just like, well, this is an amazing team building activity. A day where the entire staff gets off early, goes plays volleyball on the beach. Great vibe. Everybody I meet is awesome. And then I meet you for the first time. And in our conversation, you're like, well, I'm going to lean into, and I'm telling you about my stuff just because I like telling you about my stuff.
Yeah.
And you were telling me, well, I'm going to lean into content creation. Like I've been thinking about it for a really long time. I've got this team together. I was like, cool, dude. I think that's the right strategy, right? And I think it's very serendipitous that at that point we didn't sit down and talk business.
True.
Because the 6 months that happened from then to there, you had to learn it. And quite frankly, I learned some real truths about what this vehicle is really, really good for.
True. That's
right.
Cool.
And what I realized that what this does, this idea of bringing people in to highlight the people around you, is a content creation mechanism that takes the responsibility off of you, who then when we met at Coop, we're just like, first thing you told me is like, dude, I know I got to make content, but I'm spending half of my time doing it, and I've got to run this company, and I don't feel like I'm maximizing what I need to be doing with the content because I have all these other responsibilities. And then at that point, it all made sense. Right? So talked a couple of times, sat down to some meetings. We brought in the Biz Bros that are producing this content, that are doing great, right? Plugged in the holes to make it happen. And then you invited me to the Tuesday morning meeting. Yeah, man. Because you kept telling me, I want somebody that's around here. I want somebody that's like understanding who gets it. Understanding these ecosystems. What was tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, so, it was very strategic for me to tell you to come to our Tuesday morning meeting. That's where we have all 80 plus of our teammates together on Tuesday morning, and we talk about the business. And your first Tuesday morning meeting is where we shared the vision of our 2020 plan. But more than that, I think what you saw is that you saw the core values in action, right? You saw the client testimonials that people were reading off that we had received that week. You saw what we call our core value call outs. You saw how our team interacts. You saw how people made mistakes and we empowered them to fail forward, right? And for us, whether that is a client, whether that is a vendor, a contractor, anybody as a part of our network, the numbers are the numbers. And there's a lot of people that can produce numbers, but there's not a lot of people who can produce numbers with that type of core value, right? With that type of message, right? That type of camaraderie of the team. I think that's the magic behind JWB is the team. Right.
I totally agree.
And, and I've had a lot of marketing teammates over the years, and we've had varying degrees of success, but they were remote teammates. And I always felt like that was lacking, because when you meet somebody on my team, somebody who's local, like a Whitney Ritchie, from an insurance perspective, who's here in the office, you just get it. It's invigorating. It's exciting. You want to be a part of it. It brings out the best in you. So, so this time when I kind of set out to find that next kind of iteration of our content strategy, I said, you know what, man, I would love to have somebody who is here, who gets it, who's a part of this. And that's why I thought our meeting was so fun for me, because I didn't really know what the strategy was going to be. I didn't really know what your strategy was. But when you kind of shared your strategy with me, I was like, oh man, this clicks. Now I've got the strategy. I've got the teammate who I know, love, and trust. And now I've got that commitment from that teammate who wants to be here. So Yeah, it was all a part of the master plan, my friend.
It's all part of the master plan. Yeah, and you know, I feel I think back at our conversation at Coop where I'm saying like I was kind of out and I felt like you were very, you know, at your tight nucleus of like, yeah, man, no, I think my clients want to know their rate of return and you know, you remember that conversation,
I
right?
remember.
And I'm like, but there's so many other things that I feel like, and for me, spoiler alert, I was like, you're not telling the surf story of Jacksonville. It's so valuable. And you're like, I don't know how that fits. But somewhere in there, I think we've met halfway in that you've realized this inherent value of these stories that come out of the way that you're affecting people and how that is a story that needs to be told and how much more effectively it can be done by not just you.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, and truthfully, you've gotten to know me pretty well. Like, I'm in my natural element here, right?
Yeah.
Being a part of the conversation, not being the conversation, not the driver of the conversation. So it's just been really exciting. I feel like everything has sort of fallen into place. And at the end of the day, I think we are creating something that's creating a lot of value for those who are watching. And it's engaging and it's real and it's authentic. And we have, you know, the CEO of the chamber, right? We have CEO and city council folks that are sharing their time with us, right? Yeah. Really high level talent. So it's, man, I'm excited. I'm just really excited.
It's cool, man. I think it takes a lot for a leader to say, you know what, man, I don't really want to, like, I am in my element when I'm not the star of the show, but I am the supporting element. Like, you know, it speaks to servant leadership, which is, I feel, something that you do very well, right? So, like, I think it's a microcosm of everything that's working well, and I'm happy to hear that.
I appreciate that. I mean, it's just, you know, in 14 years of running this company, I've learned a tremendous amount about myself, my strengths, my weaknesses, the things I enjoy, the things I don't, and I'm willing to do anything to make this successful. But it's really cool when you find things that are going to be that next level of success, and it's more true to who your natural state is. Yeah. And so I feel like that's what this is.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the value that's come out of this, right? We're going to. Number one, there's going to be a place where JWB clientele, a certain number of the employees that are customer facing and whoever else wants to join in, and outside of the JWB clientele and team, just the overall network can congregate and can meet each other, add value to their lives, right? Which will be based around essentially watching a television program. Kind of like you're sitting around your living room and you're watching something together, but now it's virtual, which is the way that we're all consuming content these days. Absolutely. That's going to happen, right? We're going to be creating connections from people to people based around watching this content, right? And being able to highlight people's stories and whatever we're going to tell. And then there's also going to be a certain amount of value that you're going to get just from watching this content, right? And I think that value started to really manifest itself today that we've, you know, gone through 7 other interviews. This is our last one of the day, even though it's the first one that we're going to show. Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about so?
Yeah, I mean, they've been great learning opportunities for me. I mean, these, you know, the folks that we brought in here, I have, you know, a great relationship with all of them, right, in the beginning. So I know a lot about them. But I'm sitting here on the couch as we're interviewing, I'm like, man, I just picked up that great nugget, right? I picked up that great nugget. I picked up. So I think it's impossible to watch this show and not pick up something. Yeah. Right. And for those who aren't so familiar with the strides that Jacksonville is making, right, or you know, how to be an entrepreneur from Whitney Ritchie and that story there, I mean, you're going to get a ton of value that way. So I think it's going to be something that's really going to bring a ton of value, which at the end of the day, as marketers that we are, right, that's our job. We do that job well, then everything else follows.
Yeah, totally. And I think the other thing that became apparent to me, and we're going to kind of break down the different conversations that we had and like the value that we're going to see in the episodes coming up. But very interesting to me was when we started kind of talking about how JWB is its own category and it's its own product, unlike anything else. And to me, the big differentiator that I kept hearing is that you have this investment vehicle that's tangible, that has a really attractive ROI, and it has this like total accountability, transparency, right? And I think that this content is going to highlight the accountability of it, right? Because you're going to see that the leaders that have, you know, that the executives of the company where you're investing your money are brilliant. You're going to see that the team members of the company where it's investing your money that handle all the different departments are brilliant. you're going to see that.
Agreed with that. Not so much the first one. I agree with the second one.
Okay. Well, we can agree. Whatever, however you want. You're going to see that the other clientele that have made the same decision that you have are also really bright, talented people, and you're in good company. And then you're going to see that the town where all this is happening has this great leadership, has this great vision, has this great potential, has all these things happening. So to me, it's the next level of transparency of what your money is doing.
Very cool. Very cool.
Which I think is really, really cool, man. And I applaud you for wanting to put this out there. I know that at first you were a little bit like, oh man. I do give you credit for like the leap of faith that you're taking here. Man. But I think it's playing well. Right?
Absolutely, brother.
All right. So let's talk about the conversations that we've had today, right? We had the first person we had in was Whitney Ritchie.
Yep.
What's Whitney's kind of like role in your company? And
so Whitney, first and foremost, is a dear friend.
Yeah.
We've known each other. We both have known Whitney since many years, probably 20 years now.
Yep.
And so that type of relationship is where it all started. But Whitney is just a dynamic entrepreneur. Has grown her insurance business over the years, and has grown her team. And you heard her talking not just about the growth of her organization, but how she's doing it and her culture events and all of the atmosphere that she's created, the culture she's created, which is really amazing, right? And I know how hard it was for Whitney to step away from the security of where she was before, working with a bigger company, going out on her own, and seeing her accomplish what she's doing. It's fun to be along for the ride. So, and for clients, Whitney is super important for us, right? We sell an asset that is hands-free, that everything is taken care of for clients. Insurance is a big part of that, and making sure it's done well is a really big part of that. So, when we have an opportunity to help somebody grow, like Whitney's group, and they bring that element of huge value to our clients, you kind of see how it's going. We're going to keep that person very, very close. And so Whitney literally is in the building right next door to us, right here. We don't let her stray too far.
That theme that kept coming up of your service providers and how close you bring them in was really cool to watch play out, right? And that in Whitney's story is really cool. And then also the theme in Whitney's story, number one, she gives great networking tips as well as business development tips, but also the fact that she credits this account with her entrepreneurial success because this account was the one that forced her to scale.
Yeah.
It forced her to implement processes, and I'm starting to see JWB as this like business incubator in town, which I didn't see coming at all, man. And I think that's really cool.
It's honestly something that we take a lot of pride in because Whitney's group has grown over the years, and the Ian McKillop's law firm is a tenant of ours. Works in our office space here, and they're an incredible organization, and it's a very similar story, right?
Yep.
Branched out from working for another law firm, started on his own thing, was able to have us as his biggest client early on. Nothing more gratifying to see them, run out of space, need to find a bigger building, right? And to win these awards as a business, you get to do great things, but you get to do it with people that love, and trust. I mean, that's a lot of fun for us. So.
That's cool. So then, speaking of people that have built their business with JWB, our next interview was Rich Neal.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about Rich.
Similar story, right? Yeah. Rich, very accomplished accountant, CPA, did his thing up in the Northeast and lived that lifestyle up there, working for a big accounting firm, and came to Jacksonville. But I know Rich, and I know how thoughtful he is, and what a great investor he is, and a great CPA he is. And what do you think about CPAs? Are they risk averse? Rich is risk averse. So one of the coolest things, as I've gotten to know Rich over the years that we've been working together, is he came to JWB, was an incredible asset, but it's really cool to see how we've been able to help shape his investment mindset. And he's been willing to sort of unlearn some things that most CPAs are really afraid of. We talked about how to use debt as a tool, right? When he talked about when he first came on to JWB, he looked at our books and we have a lot of debt out there. We acquire a lot of assets and we use debt the right way. And he looked at the debt and he said, "Oh man, this is crazy," right? And now, he's a client.
Now he's investing,
right?
Yeah.
And did you hear? It's leverage. He's using debt, right? I mean, I look at that and I'm like, it's been a really cool working relationship together, insane value, and I think it's really cool for him for us to make an impact on how he's doing things.
Yeah, I enjoyed that about Rich. I also enjoyed number one, hearing about a guy that was working at Arthur Andersen right before Arthur Andersen, Tyington, like reflecting on that,
Yeah.
that was really cool. And then the fact that, kind of like Whitney, right? His relationship with y'all has driven him to be more entrepreneurial and have to learn new tricks and have to do other things.
Yeah.
And then he also gave great investment advice, right? Like I thought he was very heady about his investments.
Absolutely.
I thought that was cool. Who do we have come in after that? Was Daniel Davis, the president of the chamber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a dynamic interview that is, right?
That was cool. And I thought that was a cool opportunity. That was the first time that we sat down with somebody that you didn't know that well.
Yeah, true.
And kind of how that played out, right?
Yeah, a really accomplished leader
Yeah.
in the Jacksonville space and even in the state of Florida space, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it was in the State House of Representatives at age 30. Like,
Yeah.
how many people do you know do that, right?
Yeah.
Really accomplished leader. And I thought what stood out to me about that interview is how passionate he is about Jacksonville, right? Specifically, like, you saw his eyes, like, bulge when we were starting to talk about some of the things that we're doing in downtown and,
Yeah.
and the companies that we're bringing in, you know. I think one of the coolest things that we have going for us right now in Jacksonville is not just the leadership that we have, but we have a lot of young leaders
Yeah.
who really care,
Yeah.
right? And Daniel's at the forefront of that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the way that he, like, his just energy jumped out when we started talking about downtown and what's happening downtown and the future of the city and the fact that he's like never leaving here and he's fully invested.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really, really compelling story and a dynamic guy to learn from as well. I think that's going to be interesting. And then, you know, I really enjoyed we brought in Ice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Eisman.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I looked at that and I was just like, this is when I get to just make fun of him on camera.
Yeah.
And combining, like, actually being on camera for Adam Eisman and then, like, me being able to take shots at him was, like, the two greatest things in my mind and the two worst things in his mind. So
Yeah.
it was like a field day for me.
Dude, I thought that was great. I thought it was really good content. I think it's, you know, you don't normally see two C-suite executives of a company on camera just bashing on each other and then making fun of the other guy that's not
Oh
there.
yeah, the guy who couldn't defend
Who
himself.
couldn't defend
We
himself.
took shots at him too.
But it speaks a lot. Like I thought it was a really good lesson in rapport and in how you guys have built this culture that allows for free thought, free speech, leadership. I think one of the most compelling storylines in this business is the idea that you guys are a four-headed monster of alpha beasts, and you all get along. It's like the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to talking more and more about that stuff.
Yeah, humility is at the core of that relationship with Adam Eisman, myself,
Yeah.
my other two business partner, Adam Riegel and Alex Faucus. I mean, that is at the core of why we're able to do what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we brought in Oliver Barkat.
Yep.
Right, which I thought he had the most different energy of anybody that came in.
You just like knew when he spoke, like it was the truth.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was well thought out. It was very, very like it was at a higher level.
Yeah. So, long track record as a commercial realtor, has a very unique perspective on the business environment of Jacksonville because his job is finding companies office space. So he knows when companies are expanding, when they're contracting, how that goes. And I thought that was a really, really unique perspective.
And the influence, so he's been a downtown Jacksonville proponent
Yeah.
for decades
Yeah.
now, right? I mean, that's what he was attracted to when he came in the 90s, right? And
Yeah.
I learned a lot about what the landscape was like in the 90s for downtown Jacksonville and Jacksonville overall. So to have that breadth of knowledge
Yeah.
is really exciting. And he's at the forefront of policy-making decisions
Yeah.
for downtown,
Yeah.
which is incredibly crucial. So the Downtown Investment Authority, is in great hands with somebody like him.
It made me feel pretty warm and fuzzy to know that a dude of that like intellectual capacity formation, right? The fact that he's European and he understands cities
You
like
love that.
I'm
He had that
telling you,
influence.
man, it's different. But yeah, I think
I agree.
that's a really compelling story. And then last but not least was the guy that just left here, and we're just kind of still buzzing from it.
Yeah. Rory came in like a hurricane,
Yeah.
and I mean, it was like this intense, like whirlwind of awesome stories, knowledge. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what just happened.
Yeah, man. Rory Diamond, CEO of K9s for Warriors.
Right.
He's a city councilman. He's a close friend of you guys.
Right.
JWB has donated two houses to Warriors, to veterans with PTSD that have fallen on hard times. And he just came in with an unbelievable energy and great storytelling. And I think the number one lesson that I took away from that interview was authenticity, man. Like his authenticity, the way that he came across was so compelling and so likable that I really wonder, why doesn't everybody just do that?
I know, right? I mean, he talked about how, and this is a master networker, but he talked about how he was struggling going out there and knocking on doors in the beginning, and how he drank a beer at 9 a.m. to get over that at the beginning. I mean, what city council person comes so truthful and authentic there?
Yeah.
He did mention he's sober now, which is
yeah.
which is good stuff.
It's true, man. I think that's just gonna, like, I think anybody should watch it just because it's gonna be a fun conversation, right?
Oh man.
And all right, man. So it's been a great day. What do you, based on now this sample size, like, what do you think we have to look forward to here, man?
I'm just excited to bring the best and the brightest to Jacksonville here.
Yeah.
And wonderful client stories. Wonderful teammate stories.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how fun this is.
Mm-hmm.
You get into the day-to-day, you run the business, all that good stuff, but it's not so much about what you buy or sell or rent or anything. It's about the impact you're making on lives. And so the more and more that we're able to have this sort of a setting, the more and more lives we're impacting, the more we just get to, like, flat out enjoy it. Like, this is the fruits of, like, the labor for the last 14 years is kind of how I'm feeling about this.
And share it with people, right? Like, we're enjoying it, but everybody gets to enjoy it, right?
Absolutely.
Like, one of the quotes that I live my life by is a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote that says, "In my travels, every man I meet is in some way my superior, and in that I can learn from them." And to me, I take that as everybody that you meet, everybody that you come across, you can glean something from. You can add a tool to your tool belt if you can figure out, what they know, and they can express it to you. And that's added a lot of richness to my life as a fanatical networker and fanatical relationship builder. And anytime that I can come into an ecosystem of a certain echelon of people, which is what JWB attracts through their hiring practices, through the clientele that they serve, through the scale that they're impacting a community. I think that if you take that quote and apply that to the people that we're going to put on screen, it's going to be extraordinarily valuable for anybody watching this information, and I'm really, really pumped up about it, man.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah.
So who are we gonna get? So who's on your top list here?
Who's the moonshots, man?
Yeah.
Who's the moonshots? I mean, I think from day one we talked about Shad Khan, right? Like, that was kind of like
awesome.
the big moonshot, right? The
That'd be
owner
awesome.
of the Jags.
That would be great.
The immigrant that started what was that, auto parts company?
Yeah, I think it's less about what he's. It has something to do with car parts, but what he's done from that point, billionaire.
Yes.
And for me, kind of watching him come in and buy the Jaguars, I thought that was a really cool thing. But I just lacked the understanding of his real plan when he came in, and it was all about growing downtown.
Yeah.
Right. And clearly, he'll make a huge return on his investment when downtown continues to grow and get better and better and better, which is really cool for Jacksonville overall to know that all of our goals are aligned. I would love to pick his brain.
Yeah, the best sports owners, sports team owners are also brilliant real estate developers because it's a big real estate play.
Exactly.
So I think that's, we got to get him on here and pick his brain on that. Who do you want, man?
I want Tim Tebow.
You want Tim Tebow? Me too.
Tim Tebow would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, huge University of Florida fans, graduates as we are, Tim Tebow is just a guy who, from obviously take away the national championships and all the good times that I remember from all that. But man, just a guy who just does it right. And I just love the fact that he continues to try. He's not worried about failure. Like, one of the coolest things, maybe not as cool as winning a national title, but like right under that, in my opinion, is going and trying to play minor league ball and hearing all that criticism and everybody's just telling him that he shouldn't do it and shouldn't do it. And just real, truthful, authentic. He's like, guys, I want to try this. If I fail, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what a simple message. That's really inspiring.
The mindset of a real grinder, man. Like, for all the flair that he gets, the dude is a grinder, and to pick that brain.
I mean, he's riding on buses, in AA ball, and I'm just like, man, this is a guy that I want to be. I would like to emulate. I would love to be around. So we're putting it out there in the world.
Putting it out there, man. While we're out there, another shotgun effect, right? Like, we've got 3 Fortune 500 companies in town. We're going to bring the CEOs from there.
Yeah, man, we're going to make that
in
happen.
town. We've got like one of the biggest fintech companies in the U.S. Fintech is a huge growing sector with a lot of opportunity that's come to Jacksonville. We're going to bring them in, right? We're gonna knock it out, man. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I am really, really grateful to you for having the vision to accept getting a little bit out of your comfort zone to bring it into exactly what we want to do here. And I think it's going to come off splendidly, man.
I'm excited, brother.
Me too.
Excited,
it's going to be fun.
Thank you, buddy.
Tune in. It's going to be amazing.